Recording from the original Wahlburgers location in Hingham, Massachusetts on February 14, 2018. Welcome back to Bob Ryan's Boston Podcast. I am speaking with someone I've known for quite a while and who is among, I could go on for an hour with the accomplishments, but just a small capsule. So those of you who may not know, Lesley Visser was, among other things, the first female sportscaster cited by the American Sportscasters Association, a 2015 inductee to the National Sports Media Association Hall of Fame, the 2006 recipient of the Pete Rozelle Radio Television Award, the first female and the only female to work all these following events: Final Four, NBA Finals, World Series, Triple Crown, that's racing, Monday Night Football, Olympics, which we just discussed in a bit, Super Bowl, World Figure Skating, which Lesley has alluded to, and U.S. Open Tennis. It is a resume unsurpassed and unmatched, and that's why I'm so happy and proud to be your friend and B, to have her here to join the Bob Ryan Boston Podcast. And thank you for joining me.
Oh, well, do you know, when CBS first came to me, I was just a kid at the Globe, right? And you were there, and you were on basketball, and Peter was on baseball, and Bud was on tennis,
yep,
and Will was on football. I mean, we had Mount Rushmore there. And when Ted Shaker always teases me that when he came to CBS to offer me the job, they'd had the great Phyllis George, who, Phyllis, she was wonderful, but Ted said to me, well, we have a woman who knows television, but she doesn't know sports. Mm-hmm. So we're going to try the reverse. And I said to him, well, why would I leave the Globe? I mean, I had all you guys, and we hung around, and it was a blast. And Ted said to me, you got to be crazy. There are only 20 of these jobs in America. And that was really when CNN, I don't even know if they existed, and ESPN was nascent.
Well, what year? What year exactly did you make the switch, the full switch?
I think 80. Well, the Globe, Vince caught on quickly, right? Remember, he let Bud work for both. Yeah. He let Will work for both. He let me. So yep, I think 84.
That's what I was maybe. I remember.
Well, now you left us, but then came back.
Yeah, I left in September of 1982. To go to Channel 5 here in Boston, and I came back in April of 84. I was going for 19 months, trying something for which I was not as happy. I wasn't happy. I wanted to get out of it. I do remember, I think you telling me that you were going to work for television as we sat together in the Forum, the fabulous Forum during the Lakers-Celtics series in 84.
Well, it was funny because a couple of those games I did for both.
Yeah.
It was really weird.
Yeah.
It was, and I said, Vince said, okay, because he had lost you. Remember that when you went? Yep. That was the time you couldn't work for both. Right. And then Will McDonough and I and Bud were the next ones, and he let us work for both. And in that series, I had to do both. Do you remember where they put the press in the Garden? I remember we were looking like down on Luskatoff's jersey. I mean, we were so high up there. Well, not you, but Jackie and me. Yeah,
you can be up there. You can definitely be up there.
We were up there. And then I would be on the court for CBS. So it was quite an experience, some of those games.
How prepared were you to do this TV thing? And then as you look back at the beginning stuff?
Oh, I was terrible. I looked like I had rigor mortis in the beginning. I mean, I was terrible. And people, especially Ted, people from CBS just kept saying, oh, Lesley, be yourself. But you know this. Yeah. You're not yourself. When John Madden had a great description of it, he said, your life becomes weird when you go from being the observer to the observed. And it wasn't good. Yeah, it was really good. And
that is good.
That's how I felt. I felt, oh, gosh, now I'm supposed to be looking at you. Even now, when I've been promoting this book out on this book tour, I finally wrote a book, and I end up interviewing the people. It's just my nature. It's my nature. And they always have an assistant or someone who goes around with you, and they always say, stop asking the people, Megyn Kelly, were you in the Carrier Dome, during this game? Or didn't you love Pearl Washington? They said, that's not the point of why you're on Megyn Kelly.
Well, I learned to be very respectful of live television, and you do when you do sidelight reporting, people just have no idea what it entails. And I remember watching you one night, one time you were in Madison Square Garden for something, and watching you get ready to do your hit. You know, they were coming to you in a minute or two. You didn't look very happy. I mean, you were fidget. I mean, you know, and I know the feeling because when I worked at Channel 5, I did live shots, and I had one blackout almost one night. It was amazing. But I mean, explain what it's like when it's not easy. It's very intimidating.
Well, I used you're right, and I used the mechanism that instead of typing on deadline, I would just be speaking on deadline. But I would write it in my head the same way. And then instead of typing it, I would speak it. But, you know, my husband now, Bob Knuth, he always says to me, you don't have to give everyone 9 innings. And that would be my problem, you know, is if the janitor came over and maybe I was going on in 40 seconds. Well, you know, he'd get 8.5 innings, and meanwhile I'd be trying to organize my thoughts, and maybe I couldn't get to Chris Mullen, who at that time didn't talk that much anyway, and when he did talk, you couldn't understand him. Well, hey, how about the Big East? Do we think the Big East are they the best conference now?
They're having a good year, and the best conference. No, I don't know about that necessarily. Although they're certainly making a run because you've got Villanova, who has been #1. You've got a big game they're playing with Xavier coming up. You got Butler, you got Creighton. Yeah, there's some pretty good teams this year in the Big East. I'm happy about that because I resented the idea that there were 2 leagues that were hijacked by football and wrecked, and that was of course the ACC, which started as a basketball league, and the Big East. But didn't we always know, Lesley, that the Big East was fated to split, that it would become the Catholic schools primarily playing the basketball and everybody else playing the football?
Well, I just always thought it would become, I guess now the Catholic, now that you look at it, but Georgetown certainly. But I looked at it as football. Football drives the bus, and if you don't have football, then that's where the split's going to be, and it was. But, I mean, you really have to say that the Big East now, it's not the Big East we knew, but, I mean, Villanova winning the title a couple of years ago, and they won 4 league titles. I mean, they've really come back when you know, we just thought it was Harold Jensen off the bench.
Harold Jensen, yes, 85. Yes, 85. And one of my, I don't know where that ranks in your personal hierarchy of memorable moments, but that Final Four, that game, Georgetown-Villanova, for me is in my top 5 for sure. That's that might be my #1, except for the serious ones like CBS sent me to the fall of the Berlin Wall, and I went down. Oh yes. Don't name drop world events for me, Lesley. Why don't you?
Well, event drop.
We're going to get
category.
We're going to get to some of your European travels. Don't worry. I know. But you mentioned the book. Let's get right to it. Lesley Visser has authored a book called "Sometimes You Have to Cross When It Says Don't Walk," which is something you got from your mom, I believe. And the subtitle is "A Memoir of Breaking Barriers."